So I'm in Vancouver today. I just stopped over to pick up some flowers at the airport, and we stopped over at the supplies at United Floral. And today, because I'm in town and I know that there's some of these plants out here that I'm really interested in just sharing with you. I've been thinking a lot about just sustainable products, different sustainable floristry kind of practices. And one of the things that I am concerned about is the use of plastic water tubes. Anytime when we're not using designing in the vase, with the chicken wire or just designing water. And when we want to try some different styles of design and we go to the water tube. In North America anyways, I think we're using a lot of plastic water tubes, some of which may not be reused. I mean, I know that we intend to, but a lot of times because they're so easily disposable and inexpensive, it gets tossed in the garbage and they are not good product for, for sustainability. So I've been thinking a lot, and I know that Gregor Lurch has been using bamboo. Now, there's one thing other than also I showed the equisetum that could be used that way, but they're very small, holds a little bit of water. There's one item that actually can hold a lot more water, just like water tube, that is readily available. The only problem is that they're one of the plant material that's on the invasive list. So there's a lot of care that has to be taken to use these as potentially sustainable water tube, kind of as a water tube tool. And I'm actually just parked right here, right alongside the road where there's some of these plant material that's available that I want to share with you. And what it is actually a Falopia japonica, or the other name that we're also familiar with is POLYGONUM cuspidatum. It's actually Japanese knotweed, which is considered highly invasive, but that's why we have to take real care to use in such a way so that when you do finally dispose of it, that it doesn't repropagate. That's the real important thing. And I want to share with you how I think that we can still use it if we do it very carefully. Okay, so the key to harvesting these is that you really want the main stem. That's the fat stem that's perfect for tubing. So what I want to do is cut away any of the side stem and leave it on the side, because then we're not actually propagating any of the seed clusters or anything like that is on the plant right now. So I'm going to actually harvest it at the lowest end, because that's where the water tube, the fatter water tube is. So I cut it like this, but I'm leaving behind any of these side stems that has the inflorescence, the seeds. So I'm going to get rid of all of that. And also any of the thinner parts that's not going to be useful, maybe up from here on, I'm going to also leave it behind material. So I'm going to just take away something like this. And so this gives us the nodes that we'll be using for the purpose of water tube. So this is what we want to harvest, is the thick part that gives us nice big tubes, each one of these, and up to maybe something like this. This still has enough to hold water for a small thin stem. So we just want to harvest the main hardcore, what looks like bamboo. So any of the seed clusters, all of that has to stay behind at the site where they're growing. video with my Polygonum cuspidatum stems, also known as Fallopian japonica, the Japanese knotweed. And so now I'm going to show you what to do with them to create water tubes. So what you want to do is cut on the top end, just below the node, so that you have that tube, and then cut just below that node so that this becomes a tube. And you can just go work down the line so that you can get, and isn't it great that it's soft enough that you can just cut it with a pruner? So you don't have to even use a saw. That's one of the things about bamboo, is it's a lot to work with. You really need a saw, and it has to be thick enough, but thin enough wall that the inside is quite open. With this one, you have just easy cut water tubes all the way down the line. So be careful with this because it is invasive. You have to make sure that you don't just use it and then toss it out. Even though it's compostable, one of the biggest problems with knotweed, the Japanese knotweed, is it does root at the nodes. So if this were in water, and then the rooting could start right here. So the key thing is you will use it and keep using it multiple times until it's done. And then you're going to dispose of it by, first of all, just leaving it dry so that it dies. So until it's crispy brown and turned completely, so it's dead. And then you can compost it because it will not regenerate from death and come alive. So that's the key, is to use it as much as you can while the potential is there to use it as a tube, and then dispose of it by completely drying it till it dies, and then you can compost it, the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is show you how this works. So here's the tube, and I'm putting water into this, filled to the top. You can see it. Like, I'm going to put this bromeliad or guzmania. You can see how it's spilling water because it's just displacing water. But there you go. So that tube is full. So this is drinking water. So it's really a wonderful water tube. And how beautiful and natural it is, so that it blends into your design as an organic element. So as I travel around the country through North America and especially through Canada, it's invasive in 42 of the 50 states and across Canada except for the province of Saskatchewan, which means that they're there in your backyard. And so just be careful how you harvest it, that you leave all the seeding elements behind and bring it back inside clean and use it wisely, so that it becomes a compostable item at the end that does not repropagate. That's the real key thing with invasive, is you have to take care. So anyway, have fun with it. I think it's really a great tool. No, it doesn't work. I wish that would make a sound. That would be so cool.